This is the Knowledge Capital. From Dubai to the world, quick, powerful insights for entrepreneurs, tech builders, and bold thinkers. Learn how to scale smart, think sharper, and win faster. With real stories, real lessons, and no fluff. Let's turn knowledge into capital.
First episode of this new podcast. This podcast that was created to bring some light to UAE entrepreneurs and companies who are believing in new technologies and implementing those technologies to improve existing industries. So we are really, really happy for this first episode to receive Joe David, CEO of Nephos Group. Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on this first episode.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are really, really pleased to welcome you, and we really hope that that we will enjoy that time. The idea of this podcast is not only having chit chat with our invitees; it's much more bringing some value to the audience, and especially making them learning something. This is really important. So yeah, we just want to start. So we will, if you can start to introduce briefly what is Nephos Group, what you are doing, and yeah, please.
Yeah, cool. First of all, thanks for having me. We are, as a business, we are a professional services group of companies that work with businesses, entrepreneurs around the world on supporting their business, financial, personal needs. A lot of that, I'm an accountant, trained and qualified, so a lot of that focuses around accounting, but we also do other bits and pieces, so business setup, company structuring, your personal kind of structuring, wealth structuring, things like that. So lots of different pieces around people and their businesses, the financial aspects and managing and planning all of that.
Okay, great. Yeah, you are covering a wide landscape and things. So this is really good. So to start with a question that can a bit be really useful for the people. So what's one thing about your entrepreneurial journey you wish more people knew?
I mean, I think for me, it is the cliche thing of I wish I got into it earlier. I wish that I'd started my business much earlier than I did. I don't think working in a few companies for the 5, 6, 7, whatever years, I can't even remember now, that I did, I don't think that really added too much value, to be honest. I think the real value gets added when you jump in feet first and you run a business. So for me, I know it is a bit of a cliche, but I wish that I had started my entrepreneurial journey earlier. And if I think where I am today, the kind of growth, if you like, in me and the business has all been because I've run this business now. And I know if I had to start again today, things would be super different. And so if I'd known that when I started, by starting earlier, if that makes sense, then I think I'd be further forward. So, I personally think if you are thinking whether or not you should get into your own business, entrepreneurship, etc., then I think just dive in feet first and go for it.
Yeah, as we say, hands on. It's really important to be in the business and to understand all aspects. This is a great advice. So speaking about the Nephos Group, the story and the vision, can you briefly walk us through the evolution of the group, especially from going from the traditional accounting to crypto-focused services? Yeah. And then maybe finish a bit talking about Kapital RE. This is your new venture, new things. So if you can tell us a few words about that.
Yeah, sure. So look, I started the business, with a mindset of being a commercial accountant, right? So, being in business and working with, commercial teams, I learned how important it was that the accountant was working with the business, if you like, rather than separately. So I really wanted to make a business that was integrated with our clients. So we knew everything that was going on so that we were able to support them on all these different things they were trying to do. And that's where the business and personal stuff comes in, right? Because, if your personal goals are to retire in 3 years, your business needs to get you there. If your business goal is to do 500 million in revenue, then your personal life needs to help you get there. Do you know what I mean? So they're both things are so intertwined. So that's why on day one, our business was very much focused on supporting businesses, entrepreneurs on that growth journey, and not just on, can we crunch some numbers? Now, naturally, when you start a business, people say, can you crunch some numbers? You don't say no, because you need revenue and, clients are clients. But our focus was always on that entrepreneurial startup kind of tech space. And that then led us in 2018 into crypto. And just because we were working in the tech space, a client came to us through a mutual contact and said, look, I've got a tech company, I need your help. It turned out that tech company was a crypto company, but he didn't want to tell me that because he'd spoken to 5 other accountants and they all ran away when he mentioned the word crypto. So he started off with tech, but it was very clear quite quickly that it was crypto. And we just saw then at that point that if, the nice possible way, we were a small firm. We're not a big four. We're not, a firm, that people seek out, in 2018 to work on their crypto company. So there must have been a reason why these guys, were looking at us. So we looked at it and just felt that the market for professional services, but specifically accounting in crypto, was just non-existent. Yeah. So we just, I learned a lot about it.
The frame is still not really well designed. The frame, the international legal frame regarding crypto accounting is still blurred.
It's difficult because I've been doing this now in crypto for 7 years, right? So I now feel like it's significantly more mature than it ever has been, given that I've been in it for so long. In 2018, yeah, you're right. There was nothing. There was no legal framework, really. There was no jurisdiction had a kind of framework to manage it. None of the big accounting agencies or bodies had any kind of like thought on how it would look. HMRC, I was in the UK at the time. HMRC didn't have any guidance on it. So it was very much a case of just to go back on that, the real good thing about that was it meant that rather than us reading the rules and trying to do it based on the rules that we had in front of us, it meant that we had to go and seek out the answers, which meant that we had to invest in crypto. We had to go and put our money in these different protocols and blockchains and whatnot to really see what the hell was going on, because nobody was telling us, because nobody knew. Do you know what I mean? So we had to go. So on the flip side, although it was challenging because we didn't have the guidance, it allowed us to really, kind of build it from the ground, because we had to go into the blockchain, we had to go into the protocol, we had to invest our money into it, or, R&D, put the money in and see how it would go, to see what came out the other end. So I think we learned a significant amount like that, rather than trying to learn through a textbook, which is the traditional way of learning. So looking back now, I think that we got in the trenches very early, and that allowed us to build the brand in the space that we've now built. But at first it was very difficult, because we had to apply principles that didn't always work with an industry that was designed to not work like the traditional industry, if that makes sense.
Especially because accounting is really the link between the revenue generation, the businesses, and the legal side of declaration and so on. So yes, it was also something really critical regarding the AML globally. I think this is more the source of funds, controlling where the money injected in crypto were coming from. And I think now the framework is, especially in the UAE, which is they are really framing that really well, and that's really cool. So now you just launched Kapital RE. Yeah. So this is still something related to the accounting, right?
Yes and no. So like I mentioned before, right, we are a professional services group of companies. So we do lots of different things within the professional services space. And one of my co-founders, Nick, or my only co-founder, he's been running a private real estate office for the last kind of 20 odd years, based out of the UK, but with international property. And managing that property, commercial property we're talking about here, not so much residential, but commercial property, offices, warehouses, business parks, etc. And one thing that they struggled with was a kind of a combined, if you like, service where you could get somebody to manage the property. You could probably get someone to do a bit of accounting for it, but could you get somebody that could do all of that in one place? So manage the business park, for example, in terms of the lettings and, making sure that the tenants are doing what they need to do, but then also integrating that with the accounting and property, especially large properties. Accounting is a huge part because you've got service charges. So you've got a lot of expenditure that's spent all around this property or this business park or whatever that needs to be accounted for properly and apportioned to the right place. And if it's not, you either lose money or your tenants get really frustrated because you're not charging them at the right time, or you come to them for loads of money at a later date. So he kind of felt there was a bit of a gap in the market there to offer a holistic service, if you like, to an industry that he knows very well in the real estate market, and just to add that to our portfolio of professional services. So it's a real estate asset management entity with accounting and also crypto. We do tokenization. So if people want to tokenize real estate, we can support with that. So it was very much a kind of bringing his expertise and our business expertise as well from an accounting perspective, combining those together to offer a service to the clients.
No, that's great. And this is also, once again, showing how an entrepreneur journey leads to innovation and at the end, solving problems. This is really important because on the journey, you just identify problems along the way that can be problems that you face yourself. But Absolutely. In your case, what is great, as you have a large portfolio of customers and entrepreneurs that are doing several different things, you can face and help them to figure out a bit and to face those challenges. This is why the entrepreneur journey is so important. So I want to come back on the choices that you made, especially because you started this company in the UK, and then you decided to move to the UAE. So what was the main reason, and what are the perspectives of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's secret as to why I maybe left the UK, and that's,
the grey weather.
Yeah, and I mean, you only need to look at the press to see where the UK is right now. The UK is in a bad place, right? And there needs fundamental change in the UK to make it, what it could and maybe should be. I personally, and I don't want to get political, I personally think that started with Brexit. Asking a country to take a decision on a political thing like that they had no real knowledge or expertise, and the people that did have it were basically lying. Like, I just don't see how a country can take a huge fundamental decision on that, whether you were in or out. It was wrong, I think, for the people to have that vote. And I just think from that moment on, it just isolated the UK from the global world, really, whether we want to admit it or not. So I think at that point, I just looked at this and felt, what can I do here? I'm not enjoying the UK. Like you say, the grey weather, you wake up every morning, it's either raining or at least it's grey and cold and wet. Where can I go? And I didn't want to go somewhere. My business, we've got about 30 odd people in the business. I run my business from my laptop, so I can be anywhere, so it didn't necessarily matter. But at the same time, I wanted to go somewhere with a thriving business community, right? I wanted to go somewhere where people were trying to grow business, where, I wanted an entrepreneurial spirit. And, I just felt that the UAE and Dubai specifically just fit my mindset, my attitude on life, which is to just grab things by the scruff of the neck and get stuff done. I don't want to swear, but you know what I mean. Just achieve what get out there and try and make stuff work. And I just felt Dubai was the place for that. I actually spoke to somebody this morning, and we were talking about Abu Dhabi, because I went to Abu Dhabi a couple of weekends ago for my birthday weekend with the family, and it was lovely. It was really quiet. It was, much more untapped, if you like, in terms of, everything.
More traditional.
Yeah, exactly. But, everybody, when they think of the UAE, they think of Dubai. So when they go to the UAE, they go to Dubai. So, again, even being in Abu Dhabi, people will say, this person said to me, they lived an hour from London, but they hardly ever went to London because they couldn't be bothered. And I feel like it'd be the same. If you lived in Abu Dhabi, you'd think, I can't be bothered to drive an hour up the road to Dubai. So I just felt I needed to put myself somewhere great for family and kids, but also was a place that I could, grow my business. And I make this, comment, and it's true, but it was easier for me to move my family halfway around the world to Dubai than it was to try and move them, say, to London and to try and grow my business. Because I wasn't in London. I was 2.5 hours out of London. So I had to make that decision that if I want to grow this business exponentially, then I need to go to where my clients are. I need to be there with them all day, every day. And, London could have done an element of that because it is still a big hub for business. But it was a much easier decision for me and for the family to move to somewhere like Dubai than it was to move to London. So, so we did that 2 years ago and we haven't looked back since.
Yeah. And I really believe that the UAE is a great choice when, as you said, when you are considered as a digital nomad, because the energy there is, and everything is built to help people to grow and to move on the new way to live life. If we were talking about working from Monday to Friday 9 to 5 in your office, I do not criticize that, but I think that now there is a lot of possibility, and especially when you are an entrepreneur and build things in your head before building in the real world, this is really important to have that kind of flexibility and understanding from the ecosystem that is welcoming a bit your company. So this is also why we wanted to have you as a first episode, because you are not dedicated to one aspect of the technology side, but you have more distance to all of that. So this is really important for our audience to also understand the point of view of many things. So you created the first company, so the group, in 2012 or around this date, no?
Yeah, 2012 officially, as in we registered the company, but we were working, or I was working in a job at the time, and it was kind of like a side gig alongside the job. And then 2014 was when I kind of left the full-time job and took this on full-time.
Okay, and how your vision, it's really interesting in short words to understand how your vision, but we understood how your vision evolved, but what really fundamentally changed from 10, 12 years ago in your head, speaking about the accounting in general or all your activities?
Yeah, I think, look, for me, I felt like, and again, I had this conversation, earlier with somebody, but I've got a crazy work ethic, right? I love what I do. I love business. I love doing deals. I love being part of deals. I love seeing people be successful. And so for me, working for a company was never going to give me the buzz or that I wanted and needed to get on with the life that I wanted, right? So I just decided on that moment that I needed to step into my own thing. And that was the only way that I was going to be happy in what I was doing. I guess the big difference is, on day one, I set up an accounting firm because I thought that was the goal that I wanted. But what I actually realized, hence the other strings, if you like, to the business, is I was an entrepreneur at heart. And that word gets used a lot. And I'm not one of these people that says, when I was 2 years old, I was selling sweets to my 2-year-old friends. I've always been an entrepreneur. No, I haven't. But when I started to get that buzz, I was like, this is the thing. So it's just evolved from there, right? It's just been, I thought accounting was the thing. And then I was like, well, actually, accounting is a great door opener, to other things. And when people, what people really need, I think, in this world that we live in now, this fast-paced global world that we live in, is they need trusted, reliable people around them that can help them achieve their goals. And that's effectively what we are. So yes, on day one, it was an accounting piece because, I'm a qualified accountant, and that's what we kind of set out to do. But now we've evolved that into a fully fledged kind of professional services group, which can support clients on all their needs, to achieve those goals, basically.
And all over the world, you can support customers in Americas, Asia, any place of the world now.
Yeah. So some jurisdictions like US is a good example where, they've got quite specific tax and kind of legal obligations that we do bring partners in. We've got a client right now, we're doing all the day-to-day kind of, holistic overview for the client, but we brought in a US tax specialist to deal with a US specific piece of tax.
Yeah.
Because we can't know everything everywhere. We're not huge, we're not Deloitte or what have you. So, so we bring in resource where we need to, but ultimately, again, I've used the word a few times recently, but project manage, or like a concierge type service, right? Where we are your point of call. We are the ones that manage everything for you, but we will bring in, a concierge service. They don't physically give you the hotel space. They don't physically serve you your food, but they make sure that you go to the right restaurant at the right time. They book it for you. They make sure you get the right price and the right hotel. We're the same, right? We will bring everything together. We might not deliver every single service because we can't do everything, but we will make sure that it all gets delivered to achieve what you need to achieve.
And it's really important, this aspect of being well treated and well organized and understood by the people. And especially when we talk about accounting, because accounting, as we said, is something really serious. And it's really important to have people understanding the 360 approach that entrepreneurs may need. Speaking about the accounting and the tricky side of the crypto, because we know that crypto is most tricky. What are the things, the real difference that you see between traditional finance, traditional accounting, and crypto accounting?
Yeah, look, without giving away the secret sauce, as it were, there isn't a huge amount of difference. A lot of businesses in the crypto sphere are very similar businesses if they were in the traditional world, right? They just use this other medium of value exchange or whatever you want to call it. So and this is where we come back to 2018 when we're looking at this. When we start doing it, everyone's scared of it because they don't understand it. When we start doing it, we go, well, actually, this particular transaction here is no different to this transaction over here that we've got on ABC client over here. It's just that it's crypto rather than pounds or dollars or whatever. So for me, now that we understand the industry as well as we do, and that's taken a lot of kind of time and effort and energy, but for me now, there is not a huge amount of difference, right? You have a ledger of transactions. You have a ledger of transactions in the traditional world. You have a ledger of transactions in the crypto world. Those need to account to somewhere, whether that's a cost center or a revenue center or, a balance sheet item in your accounts. And that's the same in the traditional world. You have a bank statement and you need to apportion where those costs or, income go. So from that perspective, there's no real difference. I guess the biggest difference is if you, for example, say you're a client and you've got a bank account with HSBC and Emirates NBD out here, right? Typically, those platforms are basically the same, right? So you get the same data in the same format, date, amount, payee, etc. Pretty easy. So it doesn't matter if you're a HSBC or an Emirates NBD customer. The data extracted to be reconciled is very, very similar. In the crypto world, it's totally different, right? Because different blockchains have totally different ways of working. They have totally different ways of transacting. They have totally different ways of displaying that data. They allow you to do things differently. So you might be able to, send an amount of crypto in one blockchain in one way. In another blockchain, it goes through a different mechanism. So that's the one big difference, is getting the coverage across all of those blockchains and not just going, look, we understand crypto. We understand one blockchain, therefore we understand crypto. Actually going, no, we are going deep. So we're going to go into, obviously we don't go to every single one because there's thousands, but we are going into these ones, especially the ones our clients are using, and really understanding the transactional layer that's going on. So yeah, I think that's one of the big differences is a bank payment on HSBC is the same as a bank payment on Emirates NBD. A transfer on the Ethereum blockchain versus a transfer on the NEA blockchain, for example, are transacted totally differently and go through a totally different mechanism. So it's just understanding those nuances and understanding how to deal with that. And also the data, right? So the data that we get from Ethereum, for example, is in one format. The data we get from the NEA blockchain, as an example, is a totally different format. So it's making sure that we can understand all of that and transact it in the same way, even if they're in slightly different formats, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And do you recommend, or have you seen like a blockchain that is more accounting friendly than another one? I think
if by default, Ethereum being, the second largest, but also the first one that really allowed scalability. So, DeFi applications and, doing all these different bits and pieces. I think Ethereum naturally it's been around longer, therefore it has a much more robust data set, if you like. The tools that have been built for it are much better. Again, go back 4 years ago, if somebody was going to build something, they were building it for Ethereum, and then they might build it. If you take, Polygon Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, they're all Arbitrum. They're all layer 2. So if you like, sub layers built on the Ethereum machine. So they're called EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine. So they are built off the Ethereum database, if you like, right? So Ethereum is definitely, if you like, the most robust system that is out there. It has the most data. It has the most features, if you like, on the blockchain explorers. But you look at Solana, you look at, like I say, Nia, the other blockchains. They are starting to bring data, but a lot of them have challenges. They're not built on day one. They weren't built for accountants. They were built for engineers and to do transactions. So we have to kind of help, and we do that with blockchains. We work with blockchains quite closely to help get some of that data in a much more accounting friendly format.
And I think it's really in their interest to really start to focus on solving business problems, and especially bringing solutions. If one blockchain of one conglomerate of developers can start to really focus on scale, that can be a layer 2, or maybe building an accounting blockchain, why not? That is totally dedicated to this. That can be a major move, because we understand that if you are a small entrepreneur, you are a medium company or a big international firm, you need accounting. And we all know that blockchain and crypto is the future of finance. So basically that would be a great idea, maybe, to focus and really develop a tool based on blockchain.
I think the issue is it's not a sexy product, right? Building an accounting tool, building an accounting-based blockchain, it's not what sells, right? What sells is, these amazing things that these blockchains can do, these amazing applications you can build on top of these blockchains, and, the speed of transactions, or all these different things. That, building an accounting-friendly one doesn't really sell. So that I think is the challenge. There's a lot of people out there that want to build on these blockchains, and the blockchains have got their focus and priority is making sure that their blockchain is scalable for builders, not for accountants. Which, like you say, it is backwards in a way. It's let's build the system and then let's worry about how we manage it after. Look at FTX as an example, right?
Yeah.
Their accounting for a $30 billion company was done on a Google Sheet, or a multitude of Google Sheets, right? Yeah. That's not a sustainable accounting model for a $1 billion company, right?
Especially when you manage funds like they used to manage.
And also they were, rightly or wrongly, well, obviously wrongly now, but they were moving funds between companies. They were using funds in another company to invest in things, and like, how on earth? It's no wonder that they came in a huge mess, because there was no one really that was able to keep on top of all that stuff. So, those sorts of things. Look, FTX, I think, as an example, I use it as an example because I don't know this for a fact, but I don't think Sam Bankman-Fried set out to defraud everybody. I think he set out to build something, and he massively
messed
up. Yeah, and and that fundamental problem was compounded and compounded. You think you can get out, and then the hole gets bigger. You think you can get out, and then the hole gets bigger, right? So I'm not saying an accountant would have solved it, but there's certain governance controls that could have been put in place, or there's certain things that could have managed that business better. And accounting is one of those. I think that if it was better managed, it may not have gone the route it went. So, I think accounting, like you say, is fundamental to business success.
Yeah. Just small word on FTX. If people don't know who they are, they were there at that time. It was in 2022, if I'm not wrong. 2022, November 2022, they collapsed. It was the second biggest crypto exchange in the world, just behind Binance. It was growing really fast. It was a trendy exchange, and yes, they messed a bit by a lack of great accounting and a lack of good governance. So this is why this is so important to think all about that. And especially if you talk in few words, in few sentences to an entrepreneur that want to start to introduce crypto or to integrate crypto in his ecosystem, what would be the only advice to say, hey, just be careful of that?
Yeah, I think, one of the things we say to a lot of people is people typically that want to introduce crypto into their business have also dabbled in crypto in their own personal capacity, because you very rarely does someone go, I've never touched crypto in my life, I'm now going to introduce it into my business. Very rarely does that happen. Most of the time they've done a little bit here and there, and they go, actually, this could be interesting. So the biggest thing I can say to people is keep a separation between your business and your personal, right? Because it's very easy, when you onboard a bank account, you have to go through a whole KYC process, which means that you need to give them all the information to onboard that bank account for your business or for your personal life. With crypto, I could spin up a wallet right now on this call, and there'd be no KYC, no nothing. Yeah. And it would be very difficult if you started to play about with it, and then you started to take some, I've got one wallet, I started doing a bit of my own trading. Oh, and then a client says, how about I pay you in crypto? And you go, oh yeah, cool, I've got a wallet, just send me funds to that wallet. Cool, no problem. They send you the funds. Then you start playing with it a little bit more. Then you withdraw a little bit to your business bank account. And then all of a sudden you've got this big mess of transactions that are totally unrelated, and they don't tie up together. So I think, setting your, let's call it wallet infrastructure, your, financial infrastructure around your crypto operations or your crypto transactions, I think is super important. And doing that in the right way, at the right, properly from the start. Don't just repurpose an old wallet. Don't just repurpose your personal Binance account to receive, it might seem easier.
Separate things.
Do it as you wouldn't use your personal bank account for your business. Most people wouldn't. Most entrepreneurs wouldn't do that because they know that there needs to be a separation. Don't do the same in crypto, because it becomes an absolute nightmare when you try and separate those things at the end.
Yeah, it's not because it's crypto and look easier and faster to receive funds and play with money that you have to do that. I think, it's money. At the end, it's just an asset. You are moving the asset. And at the end, this is the report that you will have to give by the end of the year. So it's really important. Okay.
Just to touch on that quickly as well, right? You've got to remember as well, if we've got a non-KYC'd wallet, so a wallet that we've just opened up right now,
like decentralized wallet, like MetaMask or Trust wallet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. If we've spun that up right now, and let's say that is a business wallet, and that we've received millions of dollars into that wallet, and if we're a tax resident individually, say in the UK or somewhere else where there's a fairly high tax burden on individuals, if you've got no separation between what's business and what's personal, there's every chance that the government tax authority in that country will go, well, hang on a second, all that money that you've received into that wallet, there's no evidence that that's not yours. So therefore, they tax you, because we now think that's all your money. You can go, no, it's all my businesses. And my business has, done this, that, and the other. Well, there's no evidence of that. There's no... if you've demonstrated that wallet was personal in one capacity and then business in another, you're going to find it very, very difficult when you're talking to tax authorities. So, that could be such a simple thing that you think won't cause a problem could cause you a huge tax problem. So, it's something that we've seen a lot, and we tell people all the time to really think about that kind of wallet infrastructure when they're running their business and they're integrating crypto.
Yeah. And what do you advise to your customers? For example, I have a customer of mine that want to pay me in Bitcoin, for example. Mm-hmm. So I'm receiving Bitcoin. What do you advise? At the day changing in stable coin, or keeping that in Bitcoin in order to track better? Because as we know that this is highly volatile assets, it's really hard to put numbers on that.
Yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, Bitcoin as an example is an easy one because there's a very liquid market for Bitcoin. So putting a price on that at the time of receipt is fairly simple. I obviously can't say I can't say whether you should keep Bitcoin or transfer it to stable coins, because that's totally, your choice as an individual or as a business as to your risk appetite. I can't say right now you should keep Bitcoin. I'm a big believer in crypto. So if we get paid in Bitcoin, more often than not, we'll leave it in Bitcoin because we believe it.
Of course, because we believe in Bitcoin.
Yeah, we believe as an asset class it will grow. But at the same time, if you are just starting out in your crypto journey, you might go, well, I'm going to leave 10% in Bitcoin. I'll take the rest out into a stable coin or even into my bank account, whatever you decide. So I think you've got to make a personal decision for you as to what is right for you or for your business. When it comes to an accounting perspective, ultimately there's an exchange of value, right? And that value is, I provide a service to you. I value that service at $1,000. You give me $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, right? So there is a value exchange, and therefore there is usually something that says that's what we're exchanging for here. So in this case, $1,000 for $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. So that's, from an accounting perspective, it's not that difficult with an asset like Bitcoin because it's very liquid. We've had clients in the past that have launched their own token, and they've maybe paid us X amount in a stable coin and X amount in their own token. That becomes a lot more difficult because there's no active market for it, or it's a very illiquid market. So if we receive $1,000 of that token, it may be $1,000 worth, but if we were to sell that $1,000, we'd move the price so much we would only get $500. So then what's it worth? So the more illiquid it gets, the more challenging from an accounting perspective and from a valuation perspective it gets. But when you're talking Bitcoin, Ethereum, the kind of top 5 or 10 especially, it's a pretty liquid market, and therefore the price is fairly easy to come by.
Yeah, it's really important to say that anyone who wants to start to accept crypto as a form of payment, they really want to be careful of which crypto they receive, especially if you have a kind of beginner in crypto and you have a customer pushing to pay you in his own token because he is listed on that exchange or that exchange. Be really careful, because you can quit the liquidity of the token and making it very, very volatile. And so it's really important. Yes, we would, if we can advise something, that would be maybe to accept the top 5 cryptos.
And if you're just starting out, maybe just accept Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, and then exactly.
Something like that, and if you're just starting out, like I say, maybe only keep 10% of it and put the rest in, and, whatever your risk appetite, if you're making $5 million over here and somebody's going to pay you 50,000 in Bitcoin, maybe you go, well, do you know what? I'm making 5 million over here in fiat normal currency. I'm quite happy to take a risk on this 50K. Yeah. I'll leave the 50K. If that 50K is your revenue for the year, then you need to think about it. So it's just all about circumstances and what's best for the individual or the business at that time.
Yeah, and people want to keep Bitcoin and Ethereum, as you said, because they also want to hedge the market, because we know that we are seeing like traditional fake currencies are imploding, and we are seeing like with the whole global economy that is a bit shaky at the moment. We are seeing foreign currency that are moving really fast up and down. So people want to hedge, but manage the risk is also having a part of your wealth or the assets or the cash of your company in crypto is also a part of risk. So you need to understand that. So you just need to keep that as a hedge and just adding value to all your portfolio. Okay, great. So we will finish that part of the explanation of Nephos Group by a more human touch. Wanted to know a bit, what have you learned about entrepreneurship and wealth building that surprised you most along the way? Because we know that you created that group, and especially the new things you are launching, like Kapital RE or things like that. So what have you learned about entrepreneurship and wealth building that surprised you the most along the way? Just quick words.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say what surprised me the most, because, life moves on in loads of different ways, right? And it's not always just the entrepreneurial journey that makes changes to what's happening. Sometimes your life circumstances mean that your entrepreneurial journey changes as well, right? So look, I think for me, what surprised me the most is how many people, and I mean this in a nice way, launch a business without knowing what they're doing. And people like me who sit on the fence and go, not sure, maybe I need to think about this a bit more, maybe I need to know this. Like, I think the amount of people even now that I look at, and I think the businesses that they've built off the back of probably not the greatest amount of knowledge, they just got out there and they delivered and they achieved. I think that is something that is surprised. I didn't realize how much people were that fake it till you make it. I didn't realize kind of how much actually, that is out there and people are out there. So I think, and that's not a criticism of those people, because they work bloody hard to achieve that. So it's a well done to them rather than the criticism. I think that's one of the the things. But I said to someone else earlier, business is like having a child, right? I don't know if you've got a child or not, but you start off having a child and it's an absolute nightmare. It's really difficult, as you hardly get any sleep, blah 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 blah. And you think this has got to get easier, and then it does get easier for a bit, and then a new challenge comes along. They get to 4 years old and they start reading or whatever it may be, and that challenge comes, and then that becomes difficult. Then they get to teenage. So there's always this. It never just goes really hard, really easy. And that's exactly the same with a business, right? It starts off really hard. You've got no idea what you're doing. It gets a bit easier. Then you take on new challenges. It gets really hard again. Then you take on new challenge. Then it gets a bit easier. Then you take on new challenges. It gets really hard again. So that's the other thing I think, is just to remember that don't expect it to get easy and be easy unless you just want to settle. If you want to keep building and keep growing, it's always going to go up, down in terms of how difficult and how hard life is. So just deal with it. Take the rough with the smooth, take the negatives when they come, take the positives when they come, and just learn from everything and keep building is what I would say.
Yeah, and that's very true. That's very true that the life of an entrepreneur is like facing problems every day. This is why I say to our team, all the people we are advising or working with, we are always saying, don't let the problem of today untouched, because tomorrow you will have to fix another problem. An entrepreneur is solving problems along the way. So when you understand that and you integrate that, this is really important to understand that you need to fix the problem are not fixing by themselves. You need to fix problems. So you need to take care. You need to take care of things. So this is very, very important. Okay, great. So regarding the opportunities you see in the coming months, years, especially in the UAE, as we are really focusing and believing in this place, what kind of potential or opportunities you are seeing for other entrepreneurs, for example?
Yeah, look, I think this part of the world is going to try and become the official center of the world, the official kind of place that business is done to bridge the gap between the East and the West. I think, everywhere in the world has problems, but this part of the world, they have a vision to really grow and to really help people grow and businesses grow. And they've got they don't have, it's a bit like we talked about earlier, they don't have a textbook to read from necessarily, because they're all very new countries really in terms of their business and, kind of entrepreneurial livelihood. So they've got a fresh canvas. They can learn from the mistakes of others. And of course they'll make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but they'll also give huge opportunity. So I think if anyone's considering this part of the world, now is the time to jump on that ride and to start really kind of benefiting from what it offers in this part. The UK, the US, they're going to go through some very, very challenging times over the next, 2-3 years. And I think now is the time to really, if you want to build, get to somewhere like this, that they're not focused on past issues. They're not trying to rewrite the rules from what they had before. They're trying to build from a blank canvas. And so far they make mistakes, but I think they're doing a very good job. So yeah, if it was me, I would be taking the opportunity to
this is also why we built our company in Dubai, is because the energy there, the focus, all like-minded people are gathering there for one reason. It's like this country is the real cradle of something that is embodying the future. So this is quite exciting. And to come back also, when you want to start something, it's really, really important to surround yourself with experts in its field. It's really, really, really important. As you said, a lot of people want to go and run everything and think they know everything because they watch 2-3 videos online and they think that they know crypto or they know stuff. But nothing beats experience, and nothing beats surrounding yourself by experts in their field. This is really important. As on your side for the accounting, this is what we are doing also on the tech side. When people say, "Oh, I have one guy that can develop." No, this is really important to understand all the aspects of the businesses and surround yourself with what we can say. We all need mentors, like 100%. Some mentors, that people that are surrounding you, giving the right word at the right moment, and speaking from the experience, because nothing beats the experience. So yes, this is very important. And the UAE, as I say always, is from my perspective, is like is the new American dream, because they are offering this kind of American dream that we had like 30 years ago, but they learned from the mistake of the US and just put things that work in motion.
And they don't have to do some of the things that some of the Western countries had to do, in terms of, they are, again, they have built their own sovereign wealth funds here. So they don't need to rely on tax revenue or, things like that to build. Do they need some revenue? Of course they do. I think they, hence why the UAE now has corporate tax and stuff. They need to compete with the world. They need to make sure that they're doing, the right things, and that they're, they are diversifying their own, the thing that we would say to clients: diversify your portfolios, diversify your business lines. They need to do that in this part of the world. They can't be reliant on oil for the rest of, the time. So they need to do certain things to move, which they are doing, but they're also not burdened. The UK right now is in such a hole. The only way, in their eyes, the only way out of it is to raise taxes, because if you take it as a business, it's struggling. It doesn't have the infrastructure. It can't service its clients as well. So the only way that it feels that it can do that is to reinvest. And the only way to do that is to raise taxes. Now, I don't necessarily think that's the right answer, but that's what they feel they have to do. The UAE doesn't have that problem. Saudi doesn't have that problem. So I think it's something that they, yes, they can learn from the West, but they also don't need to do some of the things that the West are having to do.
Yeah. No, and I think like the vision is like totally different, and this is really a vision of expansion that they have. It's like, as you said, when you want to keep your talents or to keep your companies in your country, obviously, if you raise tax without stopping, at some point you cannot, because you need this cash. It's not to get richer that they need the money. They need money to invest, especially in that time where people need to integrate new technologies in their ecosystem. That costs to have hiring new people, buying or implementing new technologies, developing new technologies. That costs a lot. And what we are seeing in Europe right now is really crazy, because the more we move on, the more we are seeing like we cannot invest or think growing our team. We cannot do that because we need to manage taxes by the end of the year. So yeah, I really believe, and we are a lot to believe that the UAE policy is the best, because this is attracting money to create expansion. That's all. So
100%. And if you think about it, right, if your service isn't great, people aren't very happy with you. The product that you're delivering is substandard, and yet you're going to go to your customers and say, I know all of that, but I'm going to charge you more money. Your customers are going to, and when somebody else is saying, well, look at my shiny new thing, it doesn't have any of those problems that you have over there. And it's going to cost you maybe the same, maybe a little bit more, maybe less, depending on what you're doing, where you're going to go. You're not going to stay in the place that is delivering an under performing service and wants to charge you more. So, I think it's, like you say, the UAE at the moment is in a prime position to jump on that, and I think they will do that, which is why I've personally relocated myself, my family, and our business. We still have business operations in the UK, and we will do so because we have a client base there. But for me, this is the center of where we'll grow our business now.
Yeah, you're also growing more international. You are currently opening something in South Africa, right?
Yeah. We just opened an office there because we've got a team out there. And again, the staff that we've hired in South Africa, they want it more. They are more passionate. They also get crypto because, their currency isn't amazing. They have currency controls. It's, excuse me, it's a challenging place. So they've started to use crypto over there because it's an easier way for them to move money. It's maybe an easier way to peg their currency to the dollar, so their purchasing power becomes bigger. So when we're talking to accountants over there, not only are they amazing accountants, really hardworking and great at what they do, but they also understand crypto because it's something that they've needed to. So that's fantastic for us. So yeah, like you say, our clients are global, so we'll continue to grow globally and support as many people as we can.
No, great. One word to retain from that is like crypto is fixing problems in
I
some
think so.
way. Yeah.
Yeah,
The tech,
it's
the
probably
tech
causing
by
some
itself.
as well. It's probably causing some as well, but yeah, I think that, the fundamental of what crypto and blockchain is to solve a lot of those problems that have existed in the legacy systems for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we will answer in the last part of our podcast. I will ask you a few questions that can give some tips to our audience. So, for example, if you have one book you think everyone should read, one book
There is a
that can be
book.
related to your expertise or something totally different.
Yeah, the book's called The Bitcoin Standard, I think it's called. That book to teach you about what, because we've got to remember what crypto came from, which is Bitcoin and Satoshi's white paper, and the Bitcoin Standard, I'm pretty sure it's called. Will give you a real good overview as to why the current system doesn't work and where crypto and blockchain can fix that.
Yeah, this is really important. Yeah, to understand that Bitcoin was the first blockchain created in 2009, if I'm not wrong, and launched by Satoshi Nakamoto. And yes, it was really to enhance and to develop the new Web3 interaction. Because when we speak about, a lot of people speak about Web3, but Web3 is just focusing on peer-to-peer exchanges. We are not relying on a private company or private platform, as we can see, for example, on Instagram or Facebook. That is the real part of the Web 2. The Web 3 is really opening full transparency, full safety, but peer-to-peer. And this is what the people need and what the people want. They don't want to be, they want to be always attached to something, to an external company to manage their information, their money, or anything else. So yes, this book is a really, really good advice. Speaking about advice, the best advice you received about money, the best advice you received.
Wow, that's a deep question. I think I'm not sure if this is advice that I received, but something I've really kind of learn is as a person that wants to grow my personal and business wealth is to leverage assets and to leverage what I have, right? And that means that people think that they need to own everything outright. They need to, have no mortgage, no debt. Debt's such a bad thing. Actually, managed properly, debt and leverage can actually allow you to grow your wealth exponentially. It needs to be managed properly. It needs to be done in the right way and not carelessly and recklessly. But I think managing debt in the right way can really help people to leverage. And don't be afraid, don't be afraid to give up equity. Don't be afraid to, 100% of nothing is not worth anything.
Exactly.
50% of 100 million business is worth a lot of money. So, that's another thing. I've always thought, I've got to keep everything to myself because I want to see the success of everything, but actually giving bits and pieces to other people for an exchange of either money or expertise or whatever it may be, I think is also important. So yeah, remembering those two things, leveraging debt and asset bases can be amazing if done in the right way. And, similarly, don't be afraid to give up some equity in a business if you get the right people to come on that journey.
No, I think this is a great advice because, we all want, when we started our first businesses, we all want to make it ourselves and having that for ourselves. But we understand that we cannot make it alone. It's impossible. If we want to scale the business, if we want to grow in business, we cannot make it alone. And yes, giving away a part of equity to receive expertise or investment or smart money, which is also money and expertise at the same time, is really, 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 really important. Where do you see crypto in 5 years?
It's a very good. Look, I think mainstream adoption is going to be very, very, very clear. I think we're already on that trajectory. Trump's, for all his faults, has done a very good job. I think initially, right now, of really starting to make America be more crypto friendly, and so I think we're going to start seeing huge banks custodying crypto, huge banks having crypto on their balance sheet. Hedge funds and pension funds will if they haven't already, will start to integrate crypto and Bitcoin probably specifically. I think also a lot of industries will have changed. A lot of industries will have moved on to blockchain. A lot of things like tokenization of real estate. The Dubai Land Department are doing a huge pilot right now on tokenizing the real estate market here. And I think holding documents on chain is a much more efficient process than holding them in a piece of paper in your drawer. So yeah, I think where we go from here to there is going to be exponential. When you think of where we've gone 5 years ago, we probably didn't have smart contracts, or we were just about to have them. We didn't have DeFi, we didn't have all these different bits and pieces, right? So I think where we're going to be in 5 years will be exponential from there. We've got to remember that Bitcoin and crypto is on the curve. If you look at the curve of the internet adoption, Bitcoin and crypto is ahead of where the internet adoption was at the same time period that it existed. So we're talking, and don't get me wrong, you've got an advantage with the internet there. You've got an advantage to be able to get into crypto. But, it shows that this thing is not going away. This is not something that's small, and it's going to keep on growing.
Yeah. And especially because I really believe, and this is because we are doing that for a lot of customers, is I think the massive adoption will come, but people won't see what really happened because they will still use Web 2 interface powered by Web 3 technologies. This is what we are seeing. We are seeing the banks adopting blockchain, adopting crypto. They are already working with, for example, with Ripple, XRP to transfer a large amount of money globally because they know this is instantly and free and totally open. So I think that the bridge between the full adoption will be really providing Web3 solutions with Web2 experience, because 100%. That will keep the confidence of the people, that will help the transaction, and people will be able to deliver that kind of products and at the same time delivering educational content just to help people to learn, because it's all about learning. And this is why we call this podcast Knowledge Capital. This is, first of all, knowledge is not taxable yet. You can stop me. You are an accountant. You can tell me if you can tax knowledge.
I'm sure there'll be a point at some time where someone tries to find a way to tax everything we've got, which I think is another conversation for another day. But yeah, you're right. Knowledge is everything, right? Knowledge is is what helps you grow, what helps you bring support other people, and what helps you become a better kind of business person and individual as well. So I agree, knowledge is key.
Yeah, knowledge is really key, and yes, learn something every day. And this is why we want that all our audience, when they listen the journey and the presentation of our invitees, they really want. It's really important for us that to make them learn something, because we all learn. I learned today a lot about accounting, and yes. So to wrap this up. Can you share some contacts or some way to contact you if we want to have some advices, if we want to look at what you are doing? Obviously, we will add in the description of the podcast all the links to contact directly Joe David. That can be on social network or internet or mail or anything. But maybe you can share a few links or way to contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is nephosgroup.com. Which is you'll find on there all the kind of services that we do, and you can contact us from there. Personally, if you want to find me, the best place is probably LinkedIn, Joe David on LinkedIn. I try and post. I haven't posted as regularly over the last couple of weeks, but I try and post very regularly on there, and I try and make sure that the content on there is engaging and is valuable to people, not just self-promotion or anything like that, which other people try. So yeah, come and find me on there. And if there's anything that you feel that we could support you with, we just love talking to people. We love having conversations with business owners around the world. So even if it's just a conversation, and if you're passing through Dubai, hit me up. And I'm a coffee addict, so I'd love to have a coffee.
Great. We will have one next week.
Definitely.
Okay, great. So Joe, thanks a lot. I had a lot of pleasure to welcome you on this first episode. I'm really sure that a lot of good things will happen to your company, and you will provide a lot of solutions for people wanting to discover or integrate these crypto aspects to their businesses. So thank you very much, and see you soon for the next episode. and we speak soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Knowledge Capital. Follow us, drop a comment, and share the game. Follow Limitless Capital on LinkedIn and Instagram. Stay sharp, stay limitless.